So today you're going to be hearing a majority of the story of Moses from the beginning until he's born. We kind of skip a little bit of the story as he grows up in the house of Pharaoh, but then we come back when he's out in the wilderness. So Lori and I are going to split up the story since it's a longer one. So here is the story, the beginning of the story from Exodus. One day, a new king came into power and ruled over Egypt, but this king had no knowledge of Joseph. He said, "Look, there are more Israelites than ever before, and they are growing more powerful than we are. We need to be careful in our dealings with them, otherwise, they may grow even greater in number, and in a time of war, join forces with our enemies, fight against us, and then leave the land." So, the Egyptian authorities enslaved the Israelites and appointed cruel slave drivers over them to oppress them with hard, back-breaking labor. They forced them to build the storage cities of Pithom and Ramses for Pharaoh. But the harder the slave drivers pushed the Israelites, the more rapidly they had children and spread throughout the land. Because of this, the Egyptians grew to detest the Israelites even more and violently forced them to work until they were sore and tired, far beyond exhaustion. The Egyptians made life bitter for all those Israelites, forced to mix mortar, make bricks, do all types of grueling work in the fields. They tormented the Israelite slaves until all the work was done. Pharaoh, Egypt's king, called for some of the Hebrew midwives. Their names are Shiphrah and Puah. "Listen closely," he said. "Whenever you are looking after a Hebrew woman who is in labor and ready to deliver, if she gives birth to a son, then kill the baby. If it is a daughter, allow her to live." But the midwives respected God more than they feared Pharaoh, so they did not carry out the Egyptian king's command. Instead, they let all the boys live. When Egypt's king heard this, he sent for the midwives. "Why have you disobeyed my orders and allowed the boys to live?" And they said, "Well, because unlike Egyptian women, Hebrew women are hardy and energetic, and they give birth before the midwives arrive to help." God was good to the midwives, and under their care, the Israelite women had many more children, despite Pharaoh's orders. The people of Israel became stronger and more powerful. Because the midwives respected God, he blessed them with families of their own. In response to the rapid growth of the Hebrew population, Pharaoh issued a command to his people: every boy who was born to the Hebrews must be thrown in the Nile, and every girl is to be left alive.
One day, a man and a woman, both from the tribe of Levi, married. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that her son was healthy and beautiful, she feared for his safety, so she kept him hidden from view for 3 whole months. When she could no longer keep him hidden away, she took a basket made of reeds, sealed it with tar and pitch, and placed her baby boy in it. Then she wedged the basket among the reeds along the edge of the Nile River. All the while, the child's sister watched from a distance to see what might happen to her baby brother. Later on, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river while her young attendants walked along the bank nearby. Pharaoh's daughter noticed the basket wedged among the reeds and wondered what it might contain. So she instructed her maid to bring it to her. When Pharaoh's daughter opened the basket, she found the baby boy. He was crying, and her heart melted with compassion. Pharaoh's daughter, "This is a Hebrew child." Child's sister, "Would you like me to find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?" "All right, go find a nurse." So the baby's sister went and fetched his mother. The boy's mother approached Pharaoh's daughter. Pharaoh's daughter to the nurse, "Here, take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay you for your services." So the woman took the child, who was secretly her own son, and nursed him, just as Pharaoh's daughter had instructed. The boy grew, and when the time was right, the woman brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she adopted him as her own. She named him Moses because she explained, "I took him out of the water."
And now we have a little bit of a gap in the story where Moses is growing up in the house of Pharaoh. And because he's growing up in the house of Pharaoh, he knows he's an Israelite and he's watching how badly they're being mistreated. One time he loses his temper and he kills one of those slave drivers. When he kills the slave driver, he knows that he can't stick around. He can't face Pharaoh. He can't face ramifications. So he runs away into the wilderness. And in the wilderness, he runs into Jethro, the priest of Midian. And Jethro takes him in, gives him a job. Moses ends up marrying Jethro's daughter. And then one day, when he's out there in the wilderness taking care of the sheep, is when this story happens. Now, one day when Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, he guided the flock far away from its usual pastures to the other side of the desert and came to a place known as Horeb, where the mountain of God stood. There, the special messenger of the Eternal appeared to Moses in a fiery blaze from within the bush. Moses looked again at the bush as it blazed, but to his amazement, the bush did not burn up in flames. He thought to himself, "Why is this bush not burning up? I need to move a little closer to get a better look at this amazing sight." When the Eternal One saw Moses approach the burning bush to observe it more closely, he called out to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses, I'm right here. Don't come any closer. Take off your sandals and stand barefoot on the ground in my presence, for this ground is holy ground. I am the true God, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." A feeling of dread and awe rushed over Moses. He hid his face because he was afraid he might catch a glimpse of the true God. "I have seen how my people in Egypt are being mistreated," said God. "I have heard their groaning when the slave drivers torment and harass them, for I know well their suffering. I have come to rescue them from the oppression of the Egyptians, to lead them from that land where they are slaves, and to give them a good land, a wide open space flowing with milk and honey. The land is currently inhabited by Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The plea of Israel's children has come before me, and I have observed the cruel treatment they have suffered by Egyptian hands. So go. I'm sending you back to Egypt as my messenger to Pharaoh. I want you to gather my people, the children of Israel, and bring them out of Egypt." Moses said, "Who am I to confront Pharaoh and lead Israel's children out of Egypt?" "Do not fear, Moses. I will be with you every step of the way, and this will be the sign to you that I am the one who has sent you. After you have led them out of Egypt, you will return to this mountain and worship God." Let's say I go to the people of Israel and tell them, "The God of your fathers has sent me to rescue you." And then they reply, "What is his name?" What should I tell them? "I am who I am." This is what you should tell the people of Israel. "I am has sent me to rescue you." This is what you are to tell Israel's people. "The Eternal, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob is the one who has sent me to you. This is my name forevermore, and this is the name by which all future generations shall remember me." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So quite an amazing story, huh? And as I was meditating on this story, that first part of the reading, thinking about Pharaoh and looking out at his people and saying, these people are growing in numbers, and they could be troublesome if they gain power. And in order to keep them down, let's make them work really hard. Let's give them the bad jobs. Let's not pay them enough. Let's make them fear for their lives. And then Pharaoh looked at them and said, oh, they're still growing in numbers. Well, let's make the work on them really difficult. And then he said, let's make it really difficult for them to even consider this a good place for them to be. Let's make it a really hostile environment for this group of people, these outsiders who don't really belong here anyways. But Pharaoh was smart, and he knew that he needed these people around. He couldn't just leave because, well, he needed them for his economic engine. Pharaoh viewed these people not as humans, but rather as cogs in a system, right? They were a necessary part of his economic structure. That's who people were, not humans, not people to have relationship with. They were essential parts of him retaining power. And so these are the people whose worth is to make bricks, to plant seeds, to build homes, to make it so that he can acquire more and more and more wealth. And I thought to myself, who are those people today? Because those people still exist today. There's still a pharaoh in charge, many pharaohs, let's say, many pharaohs in charge, not just one, but who are looking across and saying, who are the people that we can use, not as humans, not view them as humans, but just view them as things, cogs in a system, so that we can continue to progress our economic power. And how can we keep them down? How can we make people afraid of them? How can we make sure that they have jobs that are difficult, that make it hard to live, and even make them fear for their lives? Make sure that they're not public and speaking out for themselves. Who are those people today? Is that happening today? Ooh, it is happening today. We right now in this country can look across and see that we have concentration camps in this country again. That there's a group of people that are being taken and split apart from their families on purpose. That there's a group of people that are being vilified in many ways. And there's certainly a pharaoh in charge who's saying these are not really people. They're just part of the system, just a way for us to keep power and money flowing to the right people, not those outsiders. And sometimes that's a difficult pill to swallow, isn't it? That this story is not just a story of thousands of years ago, but is a story that's happening right here and right now, and we are in need of a Moses. We're in need of a person to be plucked up out of those waters and then be told by God, now go. Go and say, let my people go. Go and speak out to Pharaoh and say, hey, these are humans too, deserving of all the love and affection that any human being does. These are not just part of a system caught up just to make money for the few, but these are real human beings, children of God with the name of God on their lips because they breathe. And that is the name of God. Breath is the name of God. Breath is the name of God, and breath is what joins us together all in one giant chorus of creation. Breath makes us all God's people, God's creation. And it is because of that breath that we can look and say to those cast outsiders who are forced into the difficult jobs and say, you too are a special creation of God's making and deserving of God's love, and you deserve the fullness of life that I too experience. And because of that breath, and because of the breath that we claim in these waters of baptism, you know, the name Moses means plucked out of the water. So all of your names could be Moses too, because we have all been plucked out of this water. All of us have been plucked from the waters of baptism and then charged with that same commitment. We all have the same commandment from God that says, go to Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. We all have that same charge, and I think we probably all have that same feeling Pharaoh does. Who, me? Not me. I'm not the person you're looking for, God. I think you got the wrong person. I'm not the one who's going to stand up and speak to Pharaoh. Who am I? Who am I to do that? And Moses said that for several reasons, right? I mean, he knew that he'd have a hard time going back to Pharaoh after he had killed one of his people, but also he stuttered. He wasn't very good at speaking in front of people. And so he wasn't much of a public speaker. He said, God, I can't speak very well. How am I going to be the one who's going to stand up and be the prophet of God's people? And God says, don't worry about it. You have a brother. He can talk. So he'll help you. And Moses keeps up coming with more and more excuses why he's not the one who should step up and speak out for those people who are oppressed, for the people who are being held down by the system. And God just keeps saying, yeah, I'll help you get over that one too. Yep, I'll help you get over that one too. Just keep breathing. Just keep saying my name. Keep remembering that it is me who is the ground and source of all being, not money. Not Pharaoh. You don't make your own source of being. I am the source of being, says God. Everything that you have is a gift. Everything that he has is a gift. Everything Pharaoh has is a gift, because breath is the ground and source of all being. God is the ground and source of all being, so you have nothing to be afraid of. I'm with you every step along the way. Everything is a gift to be shared, so go, Moses, go. Speak out. Speak out and say that every single human being is one that deserves to be loved, to be cared for, who deserves freedom and abundance, who deserves the right to feel the fullness of God's kingdom in this world right here and right now. And so God is looking at each and every single one of you saying, go. Go. It is your turn to go and proclaim, let my people go. It is your turn, because in these waters of baptism, we make a promise that we say we are going to be a people who work for peace and for justice in all the world. We make that promise every single time a child is baptized, and we reaffirm that promise every single time we get together to worship. It's a big, daunting thing to try and take on. It's a big, daunting thing to try and take on, but if each one of us do our small little parts, that can be something great. That can be something big. That you are a part not just of a movement by yourself, but we are all God's people. We are all plucked out of this same water, and we are all working together to make that kingdom where each and every single person can feel peace, love, and justice in this world a reality. So, God is calling you. God is calling you. Go. Declare, let my people go. Declare that every single person deserves God's love. And then remember who God is with every breath. With every breath, the name of God on your lips. Remember the ground and source of all being is right there with you every step of the way. Amen.